So welcome everyone. So my name is Stephanie Cadaval, and this is now, I think, the third speaker in our speaker series. And I'm the Urban Forestry Extension Coordinator here at UF. And I want to thank you all for joining us again. This is our first UF Urban Forestry Extension Council speaker series. And I see we've got some folks from around the state of Florida, which is great. And we've got some folks from other places as well, which is amazing. And this event is formatted as a lunch and learn. So you're going to hear from an invited speaker, and then we can all engage in conversation with them and with each other about the topic that we just learned about. This is a little bit more casual maybe than your typical presentation, and you're encouraged to bring your lunch if it's your lunchtime, and you can eat that with us if you'd like. I will ask though that as you're listening to our speaker, you please share your questions in our chat. And then what we will do is we will bring all those questions back at the end in our questions and conversations portion of the talk. I'm also going to be recording the presentation so we can share it later on our website and on the School of Forest, Fisheries, and Geomatic Sciences YouTube page. And after the presentation, I will share that link with you all so that you can see it later or you can share it with others. And since this is a new series, it's really important that we collect some feedback from everyone. So at the end of our time with Suzie, I'm going to leave about 5 minutes or so to wrap up, and I'm going to share with everyone an exit slip. And that's just a 2 or 3 question little survey that's really going to help us learn about your experience during the speaker series, and it's going to help us shape future events like this one. All right. So I'd like to go ahead and introduce our speaker. So today we have Suzie Suhendy with us. And Suzie Suhendy is a PhD candidate in environmental horticulture here at the University of Florida. She studies the relationship between urban forestry and human health. And she's working under the supervision of Dr. Andrew Kozer. Originally, Suzie is from Indonesia, and she recently received a research scholarship from the Indonesia Endowment Fund for Education and was recently awarded the John P. White Memorial Scholarship. Before she joined Dr. Kozer's lab, she did teach undergraduate courses and conducted research on urban forestry and environmental management at Patimura University in Indonesia. So welcome, Suzie, and whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and share your presentation.
Hi, okay, thank you so much, Stephanie. Yeah, I will start to share my, oops. Sorry. I have to be prepared. Okay. Yeah. Okay. How about this?
Perfect.
Okay, good. Okay. Okay, welcome everyone. Today I'll be presenting research on how urban forests impact stress levels among Florida residents. This is my second study from my 1 to 3 studies that I will be done for my PhD project. So this is the second one. The first one is the impact of urban forests on the high blood pressure. So this study examined whether simply having trees nearby is enough to reduce stress, or if there's more to the story. So I'm going to start from here. City living. City living exposes residents to unique stressors that contribute to various psychological and physical health challenges. I've organized these into 2 main categories, which is environmental stressors and social challenges. So let's start with the environmental stressors. Urban dwellers face what we call sensory overload. This includes constant noise pollution from traffic, constructions, and sirens as well. We also experience overcrowding in public transportation, on streets, and in buildings. What makes this particularly challenging is that these aren't temporary stressors. They create chronic stress that residents experience day after day. So unlike acute stress, which comes and goes. This persistent exposure can overwhelm our body's natural stress response systems, leading to serious long-term health consequences. So, now let's turn to social challenges, which present an interesting paradox. Despite living in densely populated areas surrounded by people, urban residents often experience profound isolation and loneliness. Beyond isolation, high crime rates, an atmosphere of fear, and constant vigilance. This compounds the stress we already discussed. We also see pronounced social inequalities becoming more visible in urban settings. So, and also there's a research from Evans in 2023 showed that this visibility contributes to feelings of relative deprivation and social tension. So when you combine all these factors together, isolation, crime, and inequality, they collectively exacerbate anxiety and insecurity among urban population. And the World Health Organization recognized this as a major public health concern. So this is why the research is important. Urban living comes with significant mental health challenges. This chart shows the elevated risk that city dwellers face compared to rural residents. So research shows a 39% higher likelihood of developing mood disorders like depression and 21% greater risk of anxiety disorders and up to doubled risk for psychotic disorders. Urban environments expose people to chronic stressors, constant noise, overcrowding, social isolation, and disconnection from nature. This creates a pressing need to understand how we can design cities that support mental well-being. So why trees? How urban trees mitigate stress? Urban forests are not just decorative. They serve as natural sanctuaries from the challenges of city life. Research by Wolf and College in 2020 shows that green spaces reduce anxiety and improve our mood. The key finding from Ulrich in 1991 study is that even viewing nature can trigger stress reduction. Another study by Sheng in 2023 demonstrates that even brief interaction, like a short walk to the park during lunch, for example, have restorative effect. Also, a study over 150,000 people in the UK found that simply living near green spaces was linked to reduced risk of psychiatric disorder. When researchers compare natural space to urban environment without greenery, the difference is clear. Parks and tree-lined streets provide superior restorative and emotional benefits. Forest therapy programs and urban green space exposure promote relaxation and reduce anxiety. So, we've seen the direct psychological impact, but how exactly do trees accomplish this? So let's look at the specific environmental and social pathways. So first, tree does not just make us feel better through some connection with nature, but they work through some very specific pathways. First, about noise pollution. Something every city dweller experiences. Trees actually absorb and diffuse sound waves. They're natural sound barriers. Nowak and Dwyer's research shows this creates quieter, more tranquil environments, and less noise means less stress. It's that simple. Second one, trees are natural air conditioners. Through shade and process called evapotranspiration, trees cool urban microclimates and counteract the urban heat island effect. Why does this matter for mental health? There's a research by Thompson's shows that extreme heat increases anxiety, depression, and even aggressive behavior. Comfortable temperatures are not just physical comfort, they are crucial for psychological well-being and cognitive cognitive function. Third, trees create inviting spaces for physical activity. The shade and well-defined spaces encourage walking, jogging, and other exercise. And we know exercise is one of the most effective stress reduce available. Trees literally make it more comfortable and appealing to be active outdoors. And finally, and this is often overlooked, stress facilitate social connection. Trees facilitate social connection, sorry. Parks and community gardens aren't just about plants, they're about bringing people together. These spaces foster neighborly connection and social support networks. Research by Kowai and Wood shows that these social connection acts as a buffer against stress and isolation. This is crucial for collective mental health resilience. We're not just helping individuals, we're strengthening the entire communities. So back to the study, our study explored the role of urban trees in mitigating stress among city residents with a focus on how varying levels of exposure and accessibility to green spaces relate to self-reported stress levels. Our research framework was guided by the 330-300 rule by Conan and Dake in 2022 that established three key metrics for optimal urban green space design. This rule specifies that residents should be able to see at least 3 trees from their home, live in neighborhoods with a minimum of 30% tree canopy coverage, and have access to high-quality green spaces within 300 meters of their residence. Building on this established framework, this research addressed key questions. Are there any association between perceived stress and view of trees, neighborhood tree canopy, and access to green space? So by examining these questions, the study aims to contribute to the growing body of evidence on the health benefits of urban trees and inform the development of sustainable, health-oriented urban design strategies. So our data were collected through an online survey by Sentiment, targeting a sample reflective of states, gender, race, and age of 45 and above, with 1,361 respondents and plus minus 3% margin of error at 95% confidence. This study received IRB exempt approval from the University of Florida, and as the soft launch of the survey, which approximately 75 participants, was on July 2024 and confirmed survey functionality before full data collection complete by July 23rd, 2024. This study surveyed 1,361 Florida residents aged 45 and older with an average age of 63. Participants completed an online survey that measured their stress level using the validated perceived stress scale, report how many trees they could see from their homes, estimated canopy coverage in their neighborhood using reference images, and describe their access to and frequency of visit to green spaces. The study also collected extensive data on socio-demographic factors and lifestyle behaviors to account for confining variables. So this is the result of our study. So this chart presents our analysis of factors affecting stress levels across several key categories. So let me highlight the most significant findings. So the red one is significant positive effect, which can increase stress. The green one is significant negative effect with the p-value less than 0.05, which is the factor, the variable can reduce stress, and the blue one is non-significant effects. So first, the demographic and socioeconomic factors. We found that age has a strong protective effect, with older individuals report significantly lower stress levels. And financial security matter tremendously. Those living comfortably experience much less stress, while those reporting very difficult financial situation show substantially higher stress, with this statistic of 12.4 and 7.49 respectively. And regarding employment, being retired is associated with reduced stress levels. Now looking at the environmental factors, and this is particularly interesting. So our research shows that simply having access to walkable green spaces show a small positive association with stress, which may seem counterintuitive. However, actually using green spaces make the difference. Daily outdoor greenery time significantly reduce stress. And conversely, visiting natural areas is associated with higher stress level. So let me break down the key finding. So here's our key finding number 1. This chart showed that nearly 79% of participants could see the 3 or more trees from their homes, meeting the first criterion of the 3-30-300 rule. However, look at the green line showing stress level. It's remarkably flat across all groups. Whether you could see 0 trees or 3 or more trees made virtually no difference to report stress level. This challenges assumption that simply having a few of trees provide meaningful stress reduction. The research suggests that passive visual exposure to trees without other forms of engagement may be insufficient for psychological benefits. This is finding number 2 about the tree canopy coverage. Similarly, neighborhood tree canopy coverage showed no significant relationship with stress. This line chart shows stress levels staying remarkably stable whether participants live in areas with 10%, 30%, 50%, or even 90% canopy cover. The line is essentially flat, hovering around 5.3 on the stress scale, regardless of how many trees existed in the neighborhood. This finding contradicts some earlier research, but aligns with more recent studies questioning direct relationship between canopy metrics and mental health. The key insight is that canopy coverage is passive measure. Just because trees exist doesn't mean they're accessible, safe, or designed to encourage human interaction. So finding number 3. This is where we found a significant effect. So this chart shows a clear dose-response relationship between visit frequency and stress level. Notice the color gradient from red to green. People who never visit natural areas reported the highest stress at 5.85, while those visiting daily reported the lowest at 4.79. That's more than a full point difference of stress scale. Weekly visitors also showed reduced stress at 5.12. This reveals that regular and intentional interaction with nature matters far more than simply having trees nearby. The frequency of engagement appears to be the critical factor, not proximity or visibility alone. So we came to the socioeconomic and sociodemographic factors. So this chart reveals something crucial. Financial security was the strongest predictor of stress in the entire study. Look at this dramatic gradient. People reporting very difficult financial situation had stress level of 7.36, while those living comfortably reported 5.19. That's a difference over 3 points, far larger than any effect we saw from the environmental variables. This reminds us that urban greenery intervention exists within broader socioeconomic contexts. No amount of trees can fully compensate for the chronic stress of financial insecurity. For urban greening to truly promote well-being, it must be part of a holistic approach that also address economic inequality. So those key takeaways, if I can combine those first, and this is perhaps of our most surprising finding, the mere presence of urban trees and green space does not automatically reduce stress. This doesn't mean trees don't matter, but they clearly do, as we'll see. But it means we need to think more carefully about how people actually interact with urban forests, not just whether they exist. Second, active engagement with green spaces matters enormously, far more than we initially expected. The more frequently people engage with nature, the lower their stress level. This suggests that regular, intentional, active interaction with the green spaces is what actually produces mental health benefits. It's not enough to have it is not enough to have a park nearby, but you have to actually go there, spend time there, and engage with them. Third, socioeconomic factors, particularly financial security, were stronger predictors of stress than any environmental variable we measured. Fourth, and finally, this research point clearly toward a need to prioritize a quality over quantity in urban planning and urban forestry. So this is the conclusion. In conclusion, this research suggests we need to reimagine how we apply the 330-300 rule. The rule provides a valuable starting framework for urban green space planning, but it may oversimplify the complex relationship between urban nature and human well-being. The evidence suggests we should focus not just on whether residents can see trees, but whether they have access to engaging the greenery that they actually interact with. Not just whether neighborhoods have 30% canopy coverage, but whether that coverage represents quality, accessible, well-maintained green space, and not just whether green spaces exist within 300 meters, but whether residents actually visit them regularly. The fundamental insights is that making nature available isn't enough. We need to design cities that encourage, enable regular active engagement with nature. This requires thinking beyond environmental metrics to consider accessibility, safety programming, and integration with daily routines. Yeah. That's it. Thank you. Back to you, Stephanie.
That was great. Thank you so much, Suzie. You made me think of so many like connections to other aspects of things that we're working on in Urban Forest Extension Council. And I'm really curious to hear from others in the room about how they saw what you talked about reflected in their own like local contexts. So to everyone in the room, Suzie did have a question that she wanted to kind of gauge how you all experienced this access to greenery. So I'm going to put up a poll everywhere, and that will help us kind of get a sense for how we all experience this. So this is a poll everywhere. And if you can just scan in the top right corner, there's a QR code here. You can go ahead and scan that. And then if you could all reply from your own experience, what aspects of green space design, such as tree canopy, seating, walking paths, natural sounds seem to have the greatest influence on visitors' sense of calm or restoration. There we go. Just want to double check you're all seeing a word cloud, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And you're able to, I think, put in more than one response, but if you are done responding, just give me a thumbs up so I can see that we've all responded. Okay, so I'm seeing things like maintenance, maybe cleanliness and safety of a space, water features, paths, openness, um, canopy. Great. Susie, are these things that you anticipated seeing?
Wow, it's like the more like yeah, it's coming more to come.
Yes.
Yeah, which I love it. Like yeah, it's good to have like people opinion like from their point of view, like what they need to have in the like the green space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Um, Great. So I think I'm going to stop sharing this. And thanks everyone for participating in that. We'll go back over here. So I was wondering, Susie, if you could share with us maybe from doing this first part of your research and starting to prepare with like the literature review and going through other research that has been done, have you seen what some possible examples of how people can engage more with trees might be?
Yeah, I mean, like what we have from our participants today, the maintenance of the green space is more important, and also like because my research is for the participant of the research is like older people like 45 and above, like to like some features like badge or like really clear pathways, it's important for them too.
Mhm.
um that makes them like love to visit the park or green spaces that provide that facilities for them.
Yeah, so like designing the spaces with
Yeah.
the users and visitors in mind.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So we have in the chat just a comment from Rachel. She says that she tries to visit a county park at least once a week for birding, and she says she always feels calmer and less stressed afterwards.
Oh.
I feel like I experience this myself. I try to take a walk as much as possible outdoors. And I feel that that does help me as I'm like walking through. I thankfully work next to a small patch of woods, so I can go out there and I can experience trees every day. And I wonder for some of the other folks in the meeting if you also have experiences like this. Maybe just give a thumbs up if you share this experience. Yeah, so we're seeing quite a few thumbs up. Great. Are there any other questions for Susie?
Yeah, I just want to add something. Like go to the natural park, like for like especially for like birding visits, the
Mhm.
sound of the natural and the birds voices, like it's very calming. So that's an extra, what is it called? Extra features if you have sounds of animals and things.
Yeah, so this is really related to another comment here in the chat. Someone is talking about how the stress of noise pollution affects their desire to visit parks. And even though some parks might be very well maintained, it can be kind of uncomfortable to visit them because of that noise and that traffic. Or if, here's another comment, someone is saying if a park is really crowded, it can be very uncomfortable. So it's really interesting to hear from the group about these like
Mhm.
sensory experiences at these places.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Susie, I know that you focused specifically on stress, but did you come across anything else, like any other studies that talked about other health aspects?
Oh yeah. My first study is about like trees and high blood pressure,
Hmm.
but it's more to like the active engagement, the physical activities in the park that might lower their blood pressure. But for our first study, we found out that the environmental itself didn't have any significant statistic significant impact like between trees and the high blood pressure.
Yeah. So we have in the chat a comment from Carol. She's mentions that she's helping to develop an urban forest in her community, and that the impact that it's had has been pretty profound on her and some of the other volunteers. I wonder, Carol, if you could talk about that a little bit more. Right. Anne is also mentioning that those hidden spaces among the trees are helpful.
Yeah.
Great. Are there any other questions or comments, shared experiences, different experiences? Rachel sharing in the chat another resource, a book called The Nature Fix, who says that your study seems to build and expand on the concepts described in that book.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Susie, what would you recommend as far as encouraging people to engage more with trees? What are some ways that we can, encourage that to happen? Either encouraging the communities to build more engaging spaces or encouraging people to come out to spaces that already exist.
That will be in our church study.
Okay,
Yeah, we there's a study plan to for us to do next spring. So yeah, that's a good question, but I will answer it after we've done that.
perfect.
Yeah, it's very related. But for me, it's myself, like yeah, the management, the what is it called? The landscape, it's very important. The maintenance.
So having those opportunities available for people to participate in those activities. Is,
Sorry, excuse me.
so are you saying that having those
Yeah,
opportunities available for people to
yes,
participate.
yeah.
Yeah, that seems very similar to what Carol is mentioning in the chat. So she's talking about how for her and those other volunteers that she's working with, it's those hours spent working in the forest, sharing nature walks, the education that they experience doing all of those activities, and how all of that is a very positive feeling for her and some of those other volunteers.
Hmm. Yeah.
Great. Are there any other questions for Susie? Okay, we've got a question here from Anne. She's saying, do you think that these results would be different if more participants were in more rural areas?
It could be because like we never know. That's why we suggest not only from rural areas, but for all ages. Like it could be different result because our studies is only targeting the participant from 45 and above, but it's we also suggest that this study can be done for participants of all ages and like not only from the urban areas but also rural areas. So yeah, the result might be different.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for that question, Anne. Are there any other questions? Are there any examples from all the communities that you are all living and working in where you would say you've noticed people engaging with nature, and what does that look like?
Can you specify the question? Like what? Like,
Yeah, just kind of around because we've got folks in the room that are from other places in Florida as well, like from Florida, but other places outside of Florida as well.
mhm,
And since your study, Suzie, was here in Florida, I was
mhm.
curious in the room if there were any experiences that were maybe a little different.
Oh, there, from my literature review, I saw that like, yeah, people who engage in the more to the urban area, not urban area, sorry, urban green area, they feel more relieved. Like I also like it happened from my own friends. Some of them like their study, like they're PhD student and they study a lot. And when they go to the park and things, they really enjoy that, especially like to the lake and things. They like feel relief before and they feel fresh again before they came to like continue in front of their laptops again.
Yeah, like restored, like they've had like
Yeah,
restorative.
yeah.
So there's a comment here from Rachel, and she's saying that she'd be really interested in a study that focused on rural areas that were undergoing some of that rapid urbanization and urban sprawl that we're experiencing, and that is being experienced in lots of places. And she says she imagines that that would be very stressful, losing for people that are losing some of those green spaces that maybe they had access to before. That would be pretty interesting to kind of see how folks that are in those rapidly urbanizing spaces are experiencing that.
Yeah. Yeah, this gonna be interesting, so interesting. Like I myself experienced some like back in Indonesia,
Mhm.
they uh cut some trees in the tree lines in urban areas to like build more wider streets. And like people are complaining about that. And like, yeah, but unfortunately, there's no like specific study with about that. It's come up in the like in the newspapers and things that people complaining they cut some trees to for the government to expand the streets, the road.
Yeah, we've got a lot of activity happening in the chat, which is amazing. So I'm trying to keep up with that, but it looks like somebody has shared an event series that happened here in Florida. It looks like in December of last year, and the event was breathing with the trees. It was like a relaxation training that happened, maybe related to forest bathing or something like that. We've also got some folks talking about how they noticed more interest at looking at nature and health as a correlated interaction. We also have somebody talking about how who's using these wooded spaces, and some of that interaction might be people that are maybe houseless, and we also see questions about what engagement is. So maybe, Susie, you might be able to help us out with that one. So what does engagement mean? Like, can you like
Gotta do it.
qualify specific ideas that are incorporated into engagement?
Okay, sorry. I just yeah. Um yeah, I mean like if you're like doing like activity in the park, not just yeah, if you're just visiting, it will be like visiting the park, walking and like do the bird watching, like something like that.
Okay, so doing like different kinds of activities. So
Yes.
any activity that you can do in those
I mean,
treed
yeah,
areas.
the activities that you love, that you like, with it, even if you're in groups or in like individuals, but like, but for me, if you're in a like a very large group, it could be annoying to for others too. But like, yeah, so you try, how you can manage that with your like small groups to visit and engage in the natural area.
Mhm. Susie, would you say that, or this maybe for anyone else in the room, would you say that the experience would be different for children? I know you mentioned age as one of those things that, maybe that differs. Like, did you come across any other research that talked about youth and engaging in green spaces?
Yeah, children, what I read is about children are so very enthusiastic when they come to like green spaces. They have like very big playground for themselves and like they can learn from that too. Like the kind of trees or bushes or flowers in there. So for children, because like we don't talk about stress because like we can say there are very less stressed persons, but to engage with the green spaces, they can do a lot of things and even learn from there and like learn a new thing, get a new experience.
Yeah, so it sounds like a lot of green spaces have those specific features that young people can use in them, like playgrounds. So
Mhm.
they're able to engage in some of those like outdoor activities that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, so Sarah is sharing about wild child activities, experiential learning that is based in a woods. So not indoors, not in a house. And she also shares that sometimes they do get complaints about children making noise, so laughter and shrieking. I wonder, Sarah, that's maybe that kind of brings us back to that conversation earlier about like what kinds of noise is there in the green space and how is
Yeah.
that suited to different people that are using it.
Yeah.
Great, that's a great comment. Are there any other questions for Susie or for the group? All right, so I think we could probably close the conversation there. Thanks everyone so much for sharing some of those ideas and examples from your communities. And thank you so much, Susie, for sharing about your research and how it's relevant to some of these communities.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm sorry if like my English is not very good.
No, you did great. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. So thank you again so much.